Hello and welcome to the 2025 garage tour video. Now in this one I'm going to show you around my garage as it is today. Now it is by no means finished, but it's at a point now where I think it will be good to have a look around it and then look back in the future so I can see what's changed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the planning stage, then onto the build stage, and then to kind of where we are now and do a full tour around the garage of where we are today. Right, stick with us here. I'll run through this as quick as I can. Now, a lot of the sort of garage tour videos you see on YouTube, things like that, are these beautiful, benched out, beautiful workshop garages, and they do look fantastic, and I would love to have something like that in the future. But I do want to make it fairly clear from the start that what I've got now here is probably 15 years to get to this point, if not more. Not in terms of just this, but getting somewhere where I could build a garage like this and deck it out the way I wanted. And it still isn't exactly, would always want it to be bigger if that was possible. But this is what I've got. I'm really happy with it. Like I said before, it's by no means finished, but we're at a point now where I can get vehicles easily in and out, and I'm starting to build on what I've got. So I'll run back to the beginning. So we bought this house purposely because it had a decent bit of land at the front, and I'd always, for as long as I can remember, as long as I've been driving, tinkering on with cars, wanted a nice big garage to do that in. Now, I've had various garages on farms and had a bit of space here and there, but never anything like this right on outside my front of my house. So we bought this house for this reason. So I'll go back to started the planning for this garage in about 2019. So the planning was the first problem. There was a few complaints and issues with the planning. So that took all about 8-9 months from going to architect to getting planning approved. Then the second problem was we had to over this side of the garage. Now I will put some pictures across the screen as I'm talking here about different things from the build. But the first problem was the drains. So I had to go through Northumbrian Water to get approval to move the inspection chambers that were there. So we pushed them back. So that was the first problem. When we're doing that work, we then ran into a big electric cable, runs straight through the middle of my garden, which there was no paperwork for. So then that was the second issue. Had to go to Northern Power Grid. The cable had to be diverted around had to stay on my land, but had to be diverted around the garage. They wouldn't let we built over it. So then that was when they agreed to do that. That was about 2020. It was around about COVID time. So it was all agreed. I was going to sign a wheel leave agreement, and then they would divert the cable around the around the build site. Now, COVID happened. They then decided that it wasn't essential work, so they wouldn't come and do it. So it was, I think it was about 2021 by the time they actually came and did it. No, it was, yes, no, that'll be right. It was 2021 when they diverted the cable. So got all the drains moved, cable moved, and then we moved on to foundations. And because of said drains, the foundations had to be dug, down past the depth of basically the deepest drain, which was really close to where the rear foundation is. So that was the problem. Then there was other bits of drains within the foundations. They had to be built over, linteled over, basically before the footings could be done. So basically, we ended up with a big concrete pour after we'd done all the lintels in the footings. Big concrete pour and just flood filled the foundations to the top. And then I had, thankfully, family members helped with the actual build of the garage. Now the garage itself is block and brick, so there's no cavity. Went for that for the sole reason because I am limited with the space at from the front to the back. Just because of the way the property is, I'm kind of right on my boundary at the front, and basically the way I needed a gap to get around the back of the garage. So in the fence, my land tapers, so we're at our maximum. So to put a cavity in, it would have cost us space basically. So, and it's a garage at the end of the day, so it didn't need a cavity. Now it's solid enough with the block and the brick. You see some garages built with just one skin of bricks with pillars, but this is obviously, it's pretty much 8 meters, this back wall, so it didn't really feel comfortable building an 8 meter long wall with little brick pillars in it. So it's solid as anything as it is. So that was kind of got to the point where we could get the garage built, roof on, doors on, watertight. So that was kind of the build finished at that point, or the physical build of it. But then there was the electrics, water, other things to do. Just to give you a little look from the outside, this is the front. That's a 4 meter wide door. I'll walk around the side here. Still got a little finishing off at the side here now, but that is it from the side with one little access door. So before we crack on with the tour, I think I need to have a bit of a tidy up, and there's something just turned up, set of shelves. So I'm going to have a bit of a tidy up and then we'll crack on with the tour. Now by the magic of editing, this should jump straight into a time lapse. So here we go. So like I've said, the back wall there is about 8 meters and the depth of the garage is about 5.5. So just that's a little Renault Clio. So it's not massive depth wise. I mean, that's pretty much tight against the back wall there, and there's kind of a walkway's width in front of it. Height wise, I think the door is 2.2 meters. So I can get the transporter in here just. There's not much clearance, but it does drive in. But lengthwise, the transporter pretty much fills the garage if I try and put it in where the Clio is. So on to the electrics, I suppose, is the first thing that was put in after the build was finished as such. So I've got an armoured cable coming in, which is brought from the house underground. Comes into that fuse board, and then we've got metal trunking that runs right the way around. If you can see that, it's basically all the way around, and then where sockets drop off from the trunking. So socket wise, I've got two 16 amp sockets, this being the first one. And the second one is over there, just above my toolbox, just above the little toolbox there. Now that is to run that little welder, which we'll come back to in a minute. Now, normal socket wise, I've pretty much, the two shorter walls have got two double sockets on. So that wall, so the gable end walls, you would call them, have both got two double sockets each. And then the shorter wall here, there is another two double sockets. And the long back wall, there are three lots of double sockets. So after the sockets is the lights. So I've got a double light switch there, which currently at the minute is only using one switch. And I've got 6 of these, that LED batten lights. You cannot see some of them because they're hidden by the door. But these were just off from Screwfix. I think they were about 25, 27 quid, something like that each. I think they were on promotion at the time when I got them. But like I say, they've been in probably 2 years now. Yeah, it's got to be 2 years now. Been not a bit of bother. They come straight on. They're nice and bright. They give off a good bit of light. But like I say, so that's the main lighting circuit, which is all off one switch. Now, I said I have got, it is a double gang switch, so that is another feed that runs up. I think it's in about the middle of the trunk and somewhere in a junction box. So the idea of that feed will be so I can have a second set of lights, which will be kind of more wall mounted for when I sort of decide where benches are going to stay. So I didn't want to just put a couple up originally and then decide that, oh, I'm not going to have a bench there or that sort of thing. So still a bit of a work in progress with that. But in all honesty, these 6 lights, even in the winter when you got the door shut, they do give off a really good, they light up the garage really well. Now, water-wise, water comes in underground here, and I've got a stopcock here, and then I've got this splitter unit for my pressure washer, so I can leave the pressure washer coupled up all the time. And then I've got another output, which I'm going to get another piece of hose with a little weight on the end, so I can basically just fill a bucket, pull the hose into the bucket, switch that on, and then the hose to the pressure washer can stay connected all the time. Now, I have got another little purchase for this setup. Anybody that's got a Karcher, however you want to pronounce it, pressure washer, you'll know the hose that comes with them is quite frankly horrible. So I'll show you what I've got to go with this. So basically, I've ordered this hose reel. Now, obviously, you've got a short piece of hose that goes from the pressure washer to the bottom of the reel, and then your long hose wraps around your reel and then connects onto the lance. So that has got 15 meters of hose on it. My plan is to mount it on my new shelving unit here. So I'm going to board out this full end section and mount it on the end of there at the top, and then I'll be able to just pull it out, and I'll be able to pull it across onto the drive to wash any of the vehicles. Right, so this section of the garage, this is obviously that shelving unit that's just turned up today. It actually came as a pair for 40 quid, which I think for the money, it's all right for what it is anyway. So that's just to kind of organise some stuff. Ideally, what I want to do here is have a nice, you see it on other YouTube videos where they have these like steel cabinets and a workbench and some upper units. That's what I eventually want to do in this corner, but I haven't got any money for that at the minute. So shelving unit, bit of old wood and some workbench things underneath there to hold that up. So I've got my little bench grinder on there, which does what it does. It's got a wire wheel on it and a normal grinding wheel, so it can clean nuts and bolts, that sort of things up with the wire wheel. Like I say, this is just an old piece of, I think it's kind of flooring stuff that you put in the loft, or just any sort of house flooring, I suppose, nowadays uses that sort of stuff. So that just acts as a bit of a workbench for the time being. So this is my little shot blast cabinet. Needs compressed air obviously for it, and it's on this little trolley that I made for it. It's could do have been a little bit more sturdy, but it does the job. And it's got my little homemade dust extraction setup on the bottom, which consists of a hoover, a little cyclone, and a pot basically, which does a good enough job of just kind of evacuating the dust so you can see what you're doing. This was the compressor that I did have originally, but it was nowhere near big enough to run this effectively. So I've since bought this one. Now this is a cracking bit of kit, and it runs that shot blast cabinet absolutely fine. It's probably maybe a little bit over the top, but I've always wanted a big compressor, so I ended up getting this earlier on this year. If you enjoy the content on our channel here, I would love you to subscribe and give this video a like. We've also got a few other videos on the channel relating to the VW Transporter and the self-built camper van and the Clio 172 Cup. I'll put the links in the description below for both of the playlists for them two vehicles. So moving on to this corner, this is just another little unit that I'd made. The idea being eventually I've got a little metalwork lathe, so that plan is that'll go on the top of there. And I had these Stanley boxes, which that one's empty, so just had a load of these. They were on offer years ago, so I kind of bought 10 of them obviously because they were going for really cheap at the time, which most of them's got stuff in. I've still got a few that haven't managed to fill yet, so I just thought I wanted to bench that height, so I just thought, well, I'll use it to store them Stanley boxes. So I just put on a set of casters. So again, this I can move anywhere in the garage, so I might not stay there. What else we've got in this corner? This is just one of these cheap, dare I call it a Chinese diesel heater. So it's a 12 volt power supply, which the wiring does need tidied up a little bit for that, but I just wanted to make sure it was going to be okay. So I've got the 12 volt supply there, which is some 3D printed brackets and a cover for the end, because obviously the terminals were kind of open to the elements. The exhaust just pops out through the wall there and out the back. And I just mounted it up on this little shelf. Now, garage this size in the middle of winter, with obviously no roof insulation, it does kind of take the chill off, but that's about it, to be honest. So even when it's running flat out, it kind of does just take the chill off. But if you're kind of working in this corner, you know, you can obviously this pipe's left kind of slack, so you can just kind of angle that to wherever you want, and just kind of, you know, blow it at yourself, I suppose. I did think about putting some more ducting up and putting it across the roof and having it sort of pointing down over in the middle, that sort of thing, but it's never got around to actually needing to do that. And of course, the little welder, which I pointed out before, so it's a little Artec MIG welder, 180 amp, I think it is. So just that, there's a little trolley that was something else that it was somebody else had made it for something else, and then I got given it, so chopped it up and welded a bit more on, so I could just put my little welder and the little gas bottle on it, which obviously you haven't seen that really on the channel being used for anything as of yet. And here we have something that's not been shown on the channel, but I'm almost finished with this enduro bike, and then it is going to be getting sold so I can buy another project car. And I suppose the last sort of section is the toolboxes. Now I've got basically the bottom half of that snap-on box stored up at a farm, which, to be fair, the top one and the bottom one need a bit of a refurb, so there'll probably be a video coming about that at some point soon as well. And that bottom box is a Draper Expert one, which, to be fair, hasn't been any trouble, I suppose. It's been all right for what it is. I've just got this little box as well, which, to be honest, the whole toolbox thing needs a good reorganise, but I will do that once I get my other roll cab down. and I get a bit more organised. And this is just the bookshelf that came out of the house. So I've just got bits and pieces, some oils, washer fluid, a few tins of spray cans, that sort of thing. Just some other odds and sods. And obviously this kind of side of the garage is where I feel like obviously your car's going to be kept, I suppose. So you can easily get in and out, and kind of that side of the garage will be more the project area, we're going to call it. And this will be the kind of, the current vehicle that's usable, I suppose. But knowing me, I probably will end up with multiple vehicles in here with none of them working. So one of the reasons for doing this video today is I really needed to give the garage a bit of a tidy out, was one of the reasons. Because I've got another project car coming into the garage very soon. Now, it's not a new project car to me, and it's not a short-term project. So I've already had the car 10 years. Now, it's been stored up at a farm a few miles away. I did do some work on the car initially when I first bought it, but then life got in the way. I moved away from the farm, and I've never had anywhere at home to put the car so I can work on it easily. But now I've obviously got this. We've got somewhere to put it, and now I can actually physically get it in here because I've got a driveway now. In the next week or two, I will be bringing that car down from the garage. But if you want to see what it is and what the next long-term project car is going to be on the channel, please subscribe, and I will do a video revealing what the next project car is. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.